apologize, people, for being a little. I was on mute that whole time that I was on before. Did you know that? If you're listening now, then you probably didn't know that. But yes, I was on mute earlier today when I was literally talking to the screen and nothing was coming out. So now I'm going to talk to you live, and I'm not on mute. So, hi. I'm Shereem Herndon-Brown, founder and director, whatever you want to call it, CEO of Strategic Admissions Advice. I'm going to make sure that I am nice and online. But I am excited to talk about college admissions today because we talk about everything else in the world regarding COVID-19. I figure, okay, so how is it impacting college admissions? That's my phone, just to make sure that it's going live. All right. COVID-19 is unprecedented change to our world. And I'm not going to batter you with that because we're all going through it in some capacity, quarantined, hibernation, whatever you want to call it. But in my expertise, in my field, my profession, education, it's going to have a lasting impact on many kids. And it could be positive or it could not be. We'll know. We'll never know. But right now, the concern for many parents, particularly parents of high school students, is how is this going to affect their college admissions? And let me see if I can fix one thing. Yeah, we're good. We're good. How is this going to affect college admissions? And we don't know. So many things that have to come and unfold. Excuse me. However, what we do know is that the standardized testing for many colleges will not count, or the colleges will cancel them, I should say. Many colleges that would not normally test optional will become test optional, meaning that they will not require students to submit standardized testing, ACT, SATs, for next year, for the 2021 cycle. And that's important. I think a lot of students are under duress. We are in an uncertain time, and it's easy to say, stay vigilant. And I've said that, keep studying, keep preparing for your tests. It's hard. It's hard to be, a sane, functioning, productive human being during this time. So colleges, or at least the standardized test prep companies, College Board and ACT respectively, have canceled the March test, past tense now, canceled the April test for this Saturday, canceled the May test that's coming up. I'm expecting June to be canceled. There's a July ACT, there's an August SAT. We don't know what will happen with those, but right now I applaud the schools that are taking into consideration how much these kids are going under, how much stress these kids are under, and making the necessary adjustments to their admissions requirements. So bravo to Case Western, bravo to Boston University, bravo to Tufts University for understanding. And Tufts is not going to require it for 3 years, knowing that's going to affect the class of 2022, class of 2023. They're 3 years. They're saying, you know what? We're going to put a pause on requiring standardized testing. And that's huge. Many kids who feel like, well, I did my standardized testing and I got a great score. How does that impact me? You can still send them in. How they evaluate them is up to them. So I'm happy about this. I'm happy because I wasn't a great test taker, and I understand that my accomplishments throughout my 4 years of high school do not dictate to one Saturday. But I do think that it's important to recognize that we have to still not hold kids accountable for 1 day out of their lives. 1 day. During these times, it's not fair. I expect many more kids to stop. What up, Brandon? How you feeling, man? Good to see you. I wasn't expecting to see you at 9 a.m. on a Sunday, or 9:15 now, but it's good to see you. What is necessary for us all to recognize is that many colleges will become test optional over the next several weeks. I'm convinced of it. Do I have data to support that? Not yet. But if Tufts did it, a well-known New England university, Tufts University, Boston University, a major research institution, I'm expecting others too. Now, will Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and some of the larger public schools? I don't know. But I'm doing a series on our website. You go to our YouTube channel at Strategic Admissions Advice, and I'm going to share with you the best test optional schools, because at this day and time, I expect that over the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 months, colleges will reassess how they want to evaluate candidates for next year, and it'll all revolve around standardized testing, or much of it will. So, yeah, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. So someone asked me, what is a test optional school? What does that mean? Let me have some water and get right back at you. Test optional schools. Bowdoin College in Maine, American University in D.C., Wake Forest University in North Carolina, Franklin and Marshall in Pennsylvania, some schools on the West Coast, I believe, Whittier, Pitzer, Reed, maybe, Occidental. Test optional schools are schools that do, University of Oregon, Oregon State, right? These major universities, these are big schools. Actually, I need to take that into consideration. Those, did they go test optional? I'm pretty sure they went test optional. Fairtest.org is the great resource for that. But I did read somewhere that they are part of the wave of schools that are going to reconsider how they're evaluating students, at least for next year. If they are not test optional, those two Oregon schools, then I know that they've pushed their deposit deadlines for the current seniors to go to June 1. If you're a senior in high school, your deadline to make a decision is normally May 1. A lot of schools have pushed it to June 1, primarily because they want to give families more time to assess where they are financially. Kids figure out what they need to do to make sure that we've at least come further along in this COVID-19 craziness to figure out what's best for them and their family. But back onto the test optional piece. Test optional schools evaluate students based on their grades, their academic achievements, their extracurricular accomplishments, and of course, their essays. They do not require ACTs or SATs. And why that is so novel is that historically, that has been the great equalizer, right? The great barometer, excuse me. The great equalizer has been, let's get out the shower. So I'm clean, just hot. The great equalizer has been, what you score in your SAT, right? That's been like the rite of passage for high school admissions, college admissions forever. And that's not the case anymore. Schools are coming up with more creative ways to figure out, are you a best fit for us? Indiana University in Bloomington, a major school, Kelley School of Business, excellent business school, is now test optional. So they're not the first one. MIT is not going to require subject tests, which are the SAT-2s, once upon a time called achievement tests, the 1-hour exams that take into consideration how well you did in a particular discipline. So again, many schools are saying to themselves, how can we evaluate students differently, particularly in this period that's been going on for 20, 30 years, all right? So fairtest.org has a list of schools that are test optional. You can also go to our webpage and go to our videos, and I'm doing a series this week on this upcoming week, beginning April 1, a month, really, at least a week, on the best test optional schools. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want students to know that the SAT and the ACT don't make or break you. They are not the end-all, be-all. They are a piece, or for some schools, a piece of your application puzzle. But they are not something that you need to say, oh, woe is me. If I don't do well on this, then I'm never going to get into college. Not true. Schools are test optional. There are schools that are different, that do not put as much emphasis on standardized testing. And as someone who did not test well, I appreciate schools who are willing to look at students for a different criteria. So test optional schools are exactly that. You have the option of submitting your test or not. Certain students, families, understandably to an extent, are concerned, well, my kid did really well on this exam. Why should they be penalized for having done well? What does this mean for them? Time will tell. We're not sure what that's going to mean exactly, but I don't think your kid will be at a disadvantage for having taken the test and done well. Now, what score is good enough to submit if you choose to submit it, test optional? All depends on the school, all depends on who you are as a student, many different factors. So today's not the day to figure out what school is what test, but I do want you to pay attention to our website, to our social media, as we share with you what we're learning about test optional schools, because to me, for so long, standardized testing has been a barrier for students. And parents have it in their mind that you can study for a standardized test. You can prepare, you can strategize, but it is a culmination of so much stuff that you already know, and then how you execute it on a piece of paper. So there's, financial and socioeconomic inequalities. There's, to the extent, gender inequalities. There's racial inequalities. Standardized testing have a long history of being studied for if they're fair or not, and who is best prepared to take them. And what does that translate into in college? They've never, ever, ever been a great indicator or predictor of success in college. So you're speaking to someone who's very passionate about the fact that test optional schools should be the model. And now that we are in this COVID-19 time, I'm applauding schools that are taking the big risk, the big step to say, you know what? We are human beings too. You are not a computer generated score in which you will then evaluate you. We are willing to let you go through this global pandemic and not have to worry about this one piece of your application puzzle. So, yes, will there be greater emphasis possibly on essays? Absolutely, because of course high schools are under siege, and there's distance learning components still being learned and figured out. So, how this is all going to factor into college admissions in October, November, December, March of next year, we don't know. So much of everything that's going on right now is unpredictable. But what I will say is that I want you to be aware that test optional schools don't make them a bad school. So if a school doesn't take the SAT or ACT, it doesn't mean that they're lesser of a school. Trinity College in Connecticut is a great school. George Washington University in DC is a great school. University of Chicago, maybe? I mean, like, there's, again, I know them. Fairtest.org has a full list state by state, but you should definitely be aware of what schools need what tests, if at all, for your kids to apply. Look at that sweat. For your kids to apply. No, you really need to know that these people who are making judgments or evaluating your child about standardized testing, they're quarantined as well, right? We're all going through this together. This isn't just something that's happening to the class of 2021. Anyone who's an admissions officer, a university president, a college counselor at a school, a college counselor independently, we're all quarantined. We're all confused about what's happening. We're all concerned about our families, how this affects the economy, and how people will have to change their college admissions options based upon finances is to be seen. So I'm really hoping that you guys will use strategic admissions advice as a resource for us to talk about these things, for us to learn about these things, for me to share with you what I'm learning. But please check out, we have a brand new website that's up, strategicadmissionsadvice.com, same website, new face. You'll see this good looking guy on the cover. Big bold move, but I'm happy that we did it. Shout out to my web designer, Shereem Herndon-Brown. Students need a college list. Students need career direction. Students need to know more than just how to get into college, but what they're going to do with their college education. So with so much going on, particularly in our finance industry, particularly our healthcare, we're exhausted. But I do want you to tune in to how we share with you how COVID-19 is affecting college admissions, but also all things college admission. So we are hosting a webinar tonight on college recruiting. That's what we are doing. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are hosting a webinar about college recruiting and how COVID-19 is affecting it. I'm being joined by Amy Bryant. Amy is a college coaching expert. She's a college coach, a college tennis coach, but has done extensive research and has many connections in the recruitment field. She lives in the South where recruitment is huge in all sports. So I'm very happy that Amy's going to be leading. She's going to be leading the webinar. I'm kind of the going co-pilot, if not, sitting back seat for her to share great information. So if you join us today at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I would really love to have you there. If you go to I will make sure it's posted everywhere on all our socials. But yeah, please use us as a resource to find out what's going on with college admissions. Go to our website, learn more about what we're doing so we can share with you, okay? This is the Takeover, Test Optional Schools and COVID-19. If you're watching us on replay, thank you. Please join us every Sunday for conversations about college admissions, and we'll go from there, okay? Have a great day, everyone. Be well. Be safe. Stay